So this is just a quick little resource that I would use, and the purpose of this resource is an introduction into the various parts and files of SolidWorks. So initially, before this resource, what I would have done is we would have gone through the e-drawing with the pupils and the participants of the intervention, the training intervention. So what you can see here is we'll detail that we have 1, 2, 3 and 4 individual parts all put together using an assembly. So this overall will be saved as an assembly part. Okay. So if we go into our file in SolidWorks, so this would be similar to Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, whichever they might be familiar with using. We have File, we have New, Open, and then we have just some pre-existing drawings. So just your recently opened. Okay. So if we click into New, what we have is a part file, an assembly file, and then a drawing file. So through our e-drawing here, we'd recognize that we have 4 parts. So the very first things we need to do is to start making our part files, which can go then into our assembly. So very first, what we do is we click our part, we press OK, we wait a second, and just like that, we've opened up a part file. So within this file here, we'll be able to create the very first part, which is the base of our house, which I will go over in the next demonstration, our next resource. So what we see up here, we have all of our SolidWorks features. So our features are Extrude Boss, our Revolve Base, which we'll be going over in more detail. We have our sketching tools, which will be able to sketch the outline and the overall shape before using our features to essentially, with our sketching, what we'll do is we'll be making our 2D drawings, and with our features, we'll be able to convert these drawings into 2D or from 2D to 3D. Here we have our front planes, which I'll be going over in detail within the very first demonstration. But these are just essentially our different pages that we can sketch on. So we have our front plane if we're looking at something head on, our top plane if we're looking from a bird's eye view, and our right plane if we were looking at it from the side. And now if I was to introduce these planes within the training intervention, what I would have is I would have a resource within the center of the room for the participants, and I'd be able to ask the participants, what is it that you see from the front plane? So it might be just a resource that they have within the model. It might be a skeleton of the anatomy, and they'd be able to see the front of the skull, the left of the skull, or the front of the skull, the front of the ribs, etc. like that, all the bones. I'd ask another participant what they'd be able to see from the side, which they might see the depth of the rib cage coming out, they might see the width of the bones, the chest coming out, essentially like that. And then from the top, it would be a bird's eye view, so all you'd see is the head and the shoulders. So that would be a sort of exercise that I'd use to try get them to visualize these different planes, but we'll be going over that in more detail now in the later demonstration.